Today, we meet in the courtroom. Yes, it may look like our usual Echidna sewing film studio, and yes, I may look like the same guy who yammers on about sewing. But today, we're not. I'm actually a lawyer, here to defend a reasonably innocent individual who has copped way too much blame for all your personal sewing mishaps, and has for far too long. Yes, today, you've all been brought here to bear witness to the machine tension versus the sewist case, where I aim to prove to you, the jury, that your machine tension is not responsible for the crimes pinned upon him, and help pinpoint the actual culprit responsible for all of your woes. Now, court is in session. Possible culprit number 1. An improper threading of your machine. Threading the machine incorrectly or forgetting crucial steps in the threading process, such as leaving your presser foot lowered or not raising your take-up lever entirely, can lead your tension units to not engage with the thread in the way that they need to for correct operation. This usually leads to thread nests or bunching that may make you want to start twisting those tension dials like an amateur DJ. But wait! Before you do that, rethreading your machine whilst being super conscious to follow the process correctly may save you from your woes in a matter of minutes. You'd be surprised at how many issues can be resolved by simply rethreading your machine. Possible culprit number 2. Debris and lint buildup. Having dust, lint or debris find its way in between your tension discs or thread path prohibits the discs from fully closing like they need to. As this rarely ever enhances your sewing process, you can expect interruptions to your feed of thread and a very inconsistent stitch quality, thus creating symptoms that may look like they're tension related. But before you go and twist your tension discs all loosey-goosey, gently flossing or cleaning between your tension discs with a lint brush often resolves this issue and gets your thread flow back in shipshape. Possible culprit number 3. Timing or mechanical malfunctions. No! A misaligned timing mechanism or an internal gear slippage is not only a mouthful to say, but also a pain in the rear end to deal with. This issue can be caused by general wear and tear, misuse of the machine, or can even just happen on a whim. It can cause erratic stitching or thread bunching. The worst thing of all, it should only be and can be rectified by a proper sewing technician. So don't try righting this wrong at home unless you're a qualified sewing mechanic or technician. To distinguish whether you're suffering from tension issues or a timing mechanical malfunction, listening carefully to how your machine sounds when operating can be the best way to determine your root cause. If a strange whirring sound starts coming from the motors, or even a clanking sound that you've never heard before has arisen, it may be wise to see if there's a sewing technician in your area to help diagnose the issue. Possible culprit number 4. A dull or incorrect needle. A ship-shaped needle is a crucial component in getting your stitches looking perfect, and even the smallest imperfection to it can be the root cause for many issues. If it's bent from hitting pins or sewing thick layers at high speeds, blunt from being used too long, or you've inserted the wrong type or size needle required, it won't form the thread loops properly or align with the hook as needed. This causes misses or skips in your stitching, a trait that is synonymous with tension-related mishaps. Speaking from experience, rather than jumping to conclusions and throwing your tension out of alignment, simply replacing your old needle with a new, appropriate needle first to see if this fixes the issue and potentially saves you from the hassle of recalibrating your tension for hours when it possibly could have been fixed in minutes. Also, ensure your needle is the right size for the type of thread you are using, as using a needle with an eye that isn't large enough will end up shredding or breaking your threads. A little bit of online research goes a long way when we're trying to keep preventable issues at bay. Possible culprit number 5. Low quality or incompatible thread. Using a cheap thread can make issues that mimic tension problems arise, as it is often weak, unevenly spun, or coated in a layer of fuzz. Fuzz that usually ends up residing in the utmost important places of your machine. This leads to more frequent thread breaks, tension disc snags, and an overall inconsistent performance. On the other hand, using a good quality thread that's incompatible with your needle, fabric, or machine can also contribute to a poor stitch performance. Thick thread in a small needle eye can bind, shred, or drag unevenly, whereas fine thread in a large needle eye may not form stable loops and skip stitches. It's always wise to inspect the thread prior to using it, looking specifically for fuzz, weak spots, and to test its fragility. It's wise to get into the habit of using good quality thread from a reliable supplier and ensure your thread type and size match the requirements for your fabric and needle. Possible culprit number 6. Improper bobbin winding or insertion.
Oh no!
A loosely wound bobbin or an incorrectly inserted bobbin can cause uneven loops, machine malfunctions, and disrupt the bobbin's thread path, causing even more issues that may resemble tension-related problems. It is worthwhile doing a little bit of research into the type of bobbin that your machine takes, as they can come in different styles for different machines. To check whether your bobbin is the culprit of your woes, check that the bobbin is wound evenly and not overfilled, as an uneven or overfilled one can cause tension issues and affect stitch formation. Being conscious when inserting your bobbin is a wise habit to build, alongside ensuring that it unwinds in the correct direction, and your thread tail doesn't get jammed between the inside of the case and the bobbin itself. It is also a good idea to routinely inspect the bobbin case for dirt and lint buildup, which can impede the bobbin's movement and cause stitching problems. Possible culprit number 7. Incorrect presser foot type and position. Using the wrong presser foot type or mispositioning the foot can severely impact your stitch quality and leave you with issues that resemble tension issues yet again. Using the incorrect foot when executing certain techniques may cause needle strikes, warps, and breaks, in addition to skipped or messy stitches. A mispositioned foot, meaning one that isn't lowered fully, tilted, or misaligned with your stitch settings, can also lead to fabric misalignment, stitch distortion, or needle damage. Avoiding these issues is quite simple, thankfully. All it takes is a little bit of research into how and when each foot is to be used, and ensure you have all your stitch settings set appropriately. This information can be found easily in your manual or online through blogs, sites, and YouTube videos. Possible culprit number 8. Poor or incorrect fabric feed. No! When fabric isn't feeding in or out of your machine properly, you may be left with poor results that look like the consequence of poor tension. Factors such as your feed dogs being lowered or disengaged, clogged with lint, misaligned, or blunt may actually be to blame for this. Additionally, an inappropriate amount of presser foot pressure may be a contributing culprit too. To resolve this, check the height and cleanliness of your feed dog area and ensure the presser foot has the right amount of pressure too. Your presser foot should have enough pressure to prevent your fabric from slipping, but not so much that your fabric puckers and buckles whilst being fed underneath it. An inappropriately short stitch length can also be a contributor to these issues. Test sewing on a piece of fabric the same or similar to the one that you're using for your project as a way to confirm the stitch length is appropriate is a faultless way to avoid stitch issues on your actual project. Now, with all that said, this courtroom is adjourned. Do I know what adjourned means? No, but I do know that we're at the conclusion of our video. Before I let you, the jury, leave, I would like to iterate the fact that your machine tension is not innocent 100% of the time. You will almost undoubtedly come across tension issues in your sewing journey that can be aided by adjusting your tension dial. You shouldn't be afraid to adjust or recalibrate your tensions if you're noticing stitches aren't in ship shape. The dial is there for a reason, and it wouldn't be there if you weren't supposed to touch it. I know, it sounds like I've fully contradicted myself and everything I have said in this video, but to clarify, the lesson I'm trying to convey is that there is a myriad of things to check prior to adjusting your tension when things go awry with your machine, as going straight for your tension dial can turn one annoying issue into two more complex but equally annoying issues. If issues with your machine start to arise, I believe it's best to simply retrace your steps in regards to the mechanisms you've interacted with. So if you've changed your thread, changed a needle or foot, switching them back to what they were prior to the issue arising can help isolate these stitch issues. Your stitches. That was a good one. If that doesn't work, then try replacing some of the tools or items on your machine. I'm talking about your thread, foot, bobbin, and your needle. If replacing all of these doesn't fix your problem, then you should go for that tension dial, adjusting it in small increments with test sews in between each one. Thank you for being a part of my jury today, and I hope you've enjoyed unpacking why your tension isn't to blame for everything. Until next time, guys, Lawyer Liam out. I can't actually drop this, but use your imagination.